The wheels of the taxi crunched against the familiar gravel of the driveway, and I felt my heart flutter with relief. After 3 grueling weeks on the road, meetings, hotel rooms, stale coffee, and endless flights, there was nothing I wanted more than to step into the comfort of my own home. My late husband and I had poured our hearts into building it brick by brick. Every corner held a memory: the kitchen where we laughed over failed recipes, the living room where my son had taken his first steps, the garden where we planted roses together. As I stepped out of the car, suitcase in hand, the air felt different. The flowers I had carefully planted years ago were gone. The white rosebush by the porch, my husband's favorite, had been ripped out and replaced with some kind of modern stone structure. I froze, blinking. Perhaps I'm just tired, I whispered to myself, shaking off the unease. But as I pushed open the door, my world tilted. The smell of paint and polish hit me first, sharp and foreign. My beloved mahogany floors had been ripped out and replaced with glossy gray tiles that looked like something out of a showroom. The cream-colored walls, warm and inviting, had been plastered over in cold steel blue. My antique oak cabinet, the one passed down from my grandmother, was gone. In its place stood a shiny metal shelf stacked with Solus decor items that looked mass-produced. I dropped my suitcase with a thud. My throat went dry. What in God's name? I muttered, stepping into what used to be my living room. The family portraits that had once lined the walls were missing. The photo of my wedding day, the framed drawing my son had made in 3rd grade, even the old grandfather clock, all gone. In their place were abstract paintings I didn't recognize. My comfortable armchair, where I had sat for countless evenings with a book, was replaced with a stiff, modern sofa that looked like it belonged in an office lobby. I felt my knees weaken. This wasn't just redecorating. This was erasure. A voice rang out from the kitchen, cheerful and confident.
"Oh, you're back early! Surprise!"
I turned sharply. Standing there, smiling with the pride of an artist unveiling her masterpiece, was my daughter-in-law, Clara. She was wearing an apron dusted with flour, as if she had been baking, but her eyes gleamed not with warmth, but triumph. "What have you done to my house?" I asked, my voice trembling with shock. Her smile widened. "Our house, you mean?" "No," I snapped, louder this time. "My house. What happened here?" She tilted her head, feigning innocence. "Oh, don't be so dramatic. I thought you'd be thrilled. Everything was so old-fashioned. It needed a fresh look. I had the contractors come in while you were away. You should be thanking me." I felt as if the ground had been ripped from under me. My chest tightened. "You had no right, none. This home holds memories, my husband, my family. And you," my voice cracked. "You destroyed it without even asking me." Clara rolled her eyes, her tone suddenly sharp. "Please. Those old things, they were junk. You're living in the past, clinging to dust and shadows. Your son and I want something modern. We're the future of this family, and the house should reflect that." Her words cut deeper than any knife. My son, my own flesh and blood. Did he know? Did he agree to this? "You had no permission," I whispered, my voice hoarse. She smirked. "Permission, you were gone. Someone had to make decisions. Don't worry, I saved you the stress." My body trembled with rage and grief. This wasn't just a remodel, it was an invasion, a theft of memories, an insult to everything my husband and I had built. As Clara walked past me, humming as though nothing were wrong, my eyes burned with tears. I didn't feel like the owner of this house anymore. I felt like a stranger. And in that moment, deep inside my chest, something stirred. Not just sorrow, not just betrayal, but the first flicker of something stronger, something I would not let go of: revenge. The next morning, I sat at the edge of my bed, staring at the unfamiliar furniture around me. My once cozy bedroom, filled with soft earth tones and floral curtains, had been stripped bare of its warmth. Now it was sterile, white, and cold, like a hotel room I hadn't chosen. I traced my fingers over the nightstand. The little wooden cross my husband had carved with his own hands was gone. Even my jewelry box, filled with trinkets and keepsakes, had been replaced by a glass dish holding fake pearls. It felt as though Clara had torn not only my house apart, but also the very history of my life. The sound of footsteps came from the hallway. Then, a knock. "Mom," my son Daniel poked his head in. His face lit up with a smile, as though nothing was wrong. "You're home." I rose to my feet, heart racing. "Daniel," I said, my voice sharp. "How could you let this happen?" His smile faltered. "What do you mean?" I gestured around the room, my hands trembling. The house. Everything. Your wife destroyed the memories of this home. Your father's things. Our things, they're gone." Daniel sighed, rubbing the back of his neck. "Mom, please don't overact. Clara didn't destroy anything. She improved it. The house needed a change. It's more modern now. Modern." My voice cracked with disbelief. "That cabinet belonged to my grandmother." "That garden held your father's roses." "Do you even realize what you've allowed? She erased your father from this home." His jaw tightened. "Mom, you always live in the past. Dad is gone, and we can't hold on to every piece of furniture forever. Clara and I want this house to reflect our future, not just your memories." I felt as though my chest were being crushed. My own son, the boy I had raised, fed, sacrificed for, was siding with her. "You think this house is yours to do with as you please?" I asked, my voice shaking. He crossed his arms. "Mom, one day it will be mine. Clara and I will live here after you, well, you know. So why not start now? We're just making it better." The words stung like fire. "After you're gone." As though I were already half dead. Tears filled my eyes. "I am not gone yet, Daniel. This is my home, the one your father and I built together. And you." My voice broke, choking on the betrayal. "You let her treat me like I'm just a guest here." Daniel's expression hardened. "You're being unfair. Clara worked hard to make the house beautiful. You should appreciate it instead of complaining." He turned and walked away, leaving me alone with my grief. That night I tried to find comfort in the garden. But the garden, too, had been altered. The wooden swing where Daniel had once played was gone. The flower beds had been ripped out and replaced with gravel and artificial grass. I knelt where the roses used to bloom, my fingers digging into the dirt. My tears fell into the soil, uninvited but unstoppable. Neighbors began to notice, whispering as they passed. Mrs. Collins from across the street shook her head sympathetically. "I saw the trucks, dear. I thought you gave permission." I didn't want to intrude. "No," I said bitterly. "I didn't give permission." Word spread quickly, and soon it seemed as though the whole neighborhood knew. People pitied me, some even laughed behind my back. "Poor woman," they murmured. Her daughter-in-law took over everything. The humiliation burned hotter than fire. And Clara, she basked in it. She walked through the house as though she were queen, giving orders, rearranging furniture, dismissing my protests with a wave of her manicured hand. At dinner, she laughed with Daniel while I sat in silence, feeling smaller and smaller in my own home. One evening, as we sat at the table, Clara smirked. "You know, maybe you should think of this house as ours now. You're welcome to stay, of course, but only if you can adjust. We can't keep living in the past." Her words were honeyed poison. I clenched my fork so tightly my knuckles turned white. I said nothing. Not then, but inside. Something was changing. The sorrow that had weighed me down was hardening into something sharper, something stronger. If they thought I would simply sit quietly and fade away, they were wrong. Very wrong. Because while Clara strutted around in arrogance, and while Daniel blindly followed, I began to see clearly for the first time this wasn't just betrayal. This was war. For days, I moved like a shadow through my own house, silent but watchful. Clara mistook my silence for defeat, strutting around as though she had finally claimed victory. Daniel carried on, blind to the storm brewing inside me. They thought I was broken, but in truth, I was planning. Late at night, when the house grew quiet, I pulled out a small wooden box hidden at the back of my closet. Inside were old papers, property deeds, my husband's will, bank statements, and letters he had written me before he died. I ran my fingers over the familiar handwriting, his voice echoing in my heart. "This house will always be yours. No one can take it from you." A warmth spread through me. My husband had anticipated everything, even this. He had known how much this home meant, and he had protected me in the only way he could from the grave. I gathered every document, organizing them neatly into a folder. If Clara wanted a war, she would learn very quickly that I was not defenseless. The next day, I visited Mr. Harris, an old family lawyer who had been my husband's closest friend. His office smelled of leather and ink, and when he saw me walk in, his eyes softened. "I've been expecting you," he said gently. I blinked. "Expecting me?" He nodded. "Your husband told me once, long ago, that if anyone ever tried to take this house from you, you'd come to me. And here you are." Tears welled in my eyes, but I swallowed them back. Clara remodeled everything without permission. Daniel let her. "They treat me like I'm just passing through. As if I don't matter." Mr. Harris leaned forward, steepling his fingers. "Legally, the house is yours. Solely yours. The will was very clear. They can redecorate, but they cannot claim ownership. Not now, not ever." Relief surged through me, mixed with fire. "Then it's time to remind them of that." He smiled faintly. "Do you want justice, or do you want revenge?" I looked down at the papers, my hand trembling slightly. Both. When I returned home, Clara was in the living room, showing off the remodeled space to a group of her friends. They gasped and complimented her taste while sipping wine, treating my house like a showroom. "Oh, you poor thing," one of them said with a laugh when she noticed me in the doorway. "It must have been such a shock, coming home to all this change." Clara smirked. "She'll adjust, it's for the best." I smiled sweetly, saying nothing. Let them think I was meek, defeated, a harmless old woman. But behind my smile, my mind raced. I began to gather allies, quietly, discreetly. Neighbors who had seen the construction, who pitied me. Friends who remembered the old house and the memories it held. Even the church pastor, who often spoke of respect between generations. Piece by piece, I built a circle of witnesses. People who would see the truth when the time came. Clara's arrogance grew bolder by the day. She began talking about hosting dinner parties, redecorating her home, even bragging about future plans to demolish parts of the garden to build a guest house. One evening, I overheard her on the phone. "Oh, don't worry," she laughed. "This place will be ours completely soon enough. She's old. She won't hold on forever. And when she's gone, Daniel and I will finally have everything." Her words lit a fire inside me so strong I could hardly breathe. "Gone." She spoke as if I were already dead. That night, I stood before the mirror, studying the lines of my face. For the first time in weeks, I didn't see weakness. I saw steel. They thought they had won. But I was only waiting for the perfect moment to strike back. Not with anger, not with screams, but with the kind of justice that cuts deeper than any insult ever could. Clara believed she had erased me, but she had underestimated the strength of a woman who had already endured loss, betrayal, and heartbreak. The day of reckoning arrived quietly, almost unremarkably. It was a Saturday morning, and Clara had planned a grand luncheon. She had invited her friends, a few neighbors, and even Daniel's co-workers, an audience to admire her, beautifully remodeled, home. I watched silently as she flitted about in her designer dress, arranging flowers that didn't belong, polishing silverware that wasn't hers. Daniel followed her like a shadow, smiling proudly, blind as ever. "Mother," Clara said sweetly as she passed me, her heels clicking on my stolen floors, "don't just stand there. Try to look presentable. People will be here any minute." I nodded with a smile that must have unsettled her, for she hesitated, frowning slightly. She didn't know what was coming. Not yet. The doorbell rang, and soon the house filled with laughter and chatter. Guests admired the modern touches, complimenting Clara as if she were the true mistress of the house. Then Mr. Harris arrived, briefcase in hand. He was not on Clara's guest list. "Who's this?" she asked sharply, eyes narrowing. "My guest," I said firmly. He set his briefcase on the dining table, commanding the room without raising his voice. "Good afternoon, everyone. I'm here on behalf of Mrs. Evelyn Carter." A hush fell over the room. Clara's smile froze. Mr. Harris opened the briefcase, pulling out a thick stack of papers. "I've brought with me the legal deed to this house, the will of the late Mr. Carter, and additional documentation confirming that Mrs. Carter is, and always has been, the sole owner of this property." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. Clara's face drained of color. She snapped, her voice too loud, too shrill. "This house belongs to my husband and me. Everyone knows that. Mr. Harris adjusted his glasses calmly. "Legally it does not. It belongs to Mrs. Carter. Everything done here was without her consent, which makes it unlawful. Technically, she could demand compensation for damages." All eyes turned to me. I rose slowly from my chair, my voice steady but laced with the power of years of endurance. When I returned from my business trip, I was met with betrayal. My home was stripped of memories, my husband's legacy trampled, and I was treated like a stranger in my own house. I stayed silent because I wanted to see how far this would go. I fixed my gaze on Clara. "Now everyone can see the truth." Gasps echoed around the room. Some guests whispered, others shook their heads in disapproval. Clara's mask cracked. "Daniel, say something," she hissed. Daniel looked at me, then at the papers, then at the faces of the guests, all filled with judgment and disappointment. His voice faltered. "Clara, is this true?" She stammered, her composure slipping. I was just trying to help."
The house needed changes.
"She should be grateful." The guests recoiled at her words. Even Daniel looked ashamed. I stepped closer, my voice low but sharp as a blade. "You didn't remodel this house to help me. You did it to erase me, to claim something that was never yours. But you forgot one thing, Clara. This house is not just bricks and paint. It's memory, love, and history. And you can't take that from me." Silence hung heavy in the room. Clara's friends avoided her gaze, embarrassed to be in her company. The humiliation on her face was unmistakable. Then I delivered the final blow. "Mr. Harris has already filed the necessary papers. From this day forward, you will live here by my rules, or not at all. If I see one more attempt to claim what isn't yours, both of you will be out of this house before you can pack a single bag." Daniel's head dropped, guilt washing over him. Clara's lips trembled, her arrogance gone, replaced by something she had never shown me before: fear. The luncheon was over before it began. Guests slipped away, whispering about the scandal. Clara stood frozen, humiliated, her empire of arrogance crumbling in front of everyone she had tried to impress. That evening, the house was silent. Daniel muttered an apology, weak and uncertain. Clara avoided my eyes, her once sharp tongue silenced. I sat in my restored armchair, brought back from storage thanks to a neighbor's help, running my hand along the